welcome everybody. Welcome to the very brand new curriculum of the level one for the Ayurveda Alchemist Academy. I'm really excited when myself and Jasmine, who is the Alchemist new co-owner, and Helena, one of our Ayurvedic practitioners and educators, we all were working really hard with getting this content up and running. And it just reinvigorated my love and inspiration and everything for Ayurveda and the content. And I was just so excited by it, as you can probably tell by some of my posts. And I truly was like just re sort of relearning it all really, because you got to start from the very start from the basics. And sometimes when you've been in something for so long, you forget about the basics. And we really should always go back there because there's so much to learn about that. So for those of you who have already dove into Ayurveda, and maybe you've even gone through the Ayurveda health holistic health certification, when we start from the start, which is today, we can always learn something new from the beginning. And Ayurveda is like a jigsaw puzzle, and we've got all these different pieces, and we slowly start putting it together until we have a complete picture, which you will get at by the end of this course. But the thing is, even if we've done a jigsaw once before, things just start to click easier and quicker when we revisit the information. And I always say, what gets repeated gets remembered. And I think that's really important in, a lifelong learning art and science and philosophy that Ayurveda is. So, in saying that, I am going to share my screen and we're going to get into the content today. And I'd like, as you know, I love it to be interactive. I think that makes it fun, and it's a great way to learn. So, just bear with me while I get this screen sorted. Um, and Helena, just while I am getting this screen, the slide sorted, would you mind just looking in the Facebook group in case someone hasn't been able to log
Yeah,
in,
for
getting
sure.
a new link, just
I
in
will keep my
case,
eyes on it. Yeah.
someone's asking where, even though I've got a link there, but
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
here.
Okay, we're getting there. I've got to like match this up. Does that work? Does that look good? No, we need to make it. Hang on. I don't know what you guys are seeing, but it probably looks like a dog breakfast right now. You've got to like match the screen up with. How's that? Can you guys see that the slides look good?
Looks good, my end.
Yay! It's like fitting it into this little box. Okay, so as I said, we're starting from the beginning. So, welcome to the Ayurvedic Health Consultant Certification. This session today, it's really an introductory session that's going to give us an overview of Ayurveda as both a science of life and a pathway to healing. So we are going to dive into this by looking at the root, what I say, the root of Ayurveda, which is Ayurvedic philosophy. So it's the foundation that reminds us health is harmony and imbalance is the root of suffering. We're going to look at the elemental theory, so the Panchamahabhutas, so that's the five elements, and how they make up the universe and our bodies. And then we'll touch on the doshas as well, because we all know they're an important part of Ayurveda, and the living expressions of the elements through the doshas. We'll look at dinacharya, which are daily rituals, so some simple, powerful practices such as abhyanga, neti, tongue cleaning, and mindful eating to regulate our nervous system and to restore balance. And through these teachings, you'll see that Ayurveda, it's not just a medical science, it is a way of life, and it helps us to reconnect to our wholeness. So, as we continue this program, we will follow the full curriculum and learning outcomes that will progressively prepare you to understand and embody Ayurvedic principles in your own life, assess constitution, so your prakriti, and imbalances, which is your vikriti, guide others with personalized recommendations for diet, lifestyle, and daily practices, and build a really professional skill set that's required to become a compassionate and capable Ayurvedic health consultant and or practitioner if you're going to be journeying onto the practitioner pathway. So really, this journey, it begins with you. Like that's what we're so big here in the Ayurveda Alchemist Academy is really embodying the practices. So it starts with you living Ayurveda and stepping into it step by step so that you can embody it and eventually serve as a guide for others. Now, before we do begin, we're going to take a little moment just to align ourselves with the deeper purpose of this journey. So, we're going to do that by honoring the embodiment of the divine healer in our hearts through a traditional method of chanting. And so each class, we're actually going to start with this sacred chant, which is the Om Davantantra Muyatre Namaha. And we're going to chant this 7 times. And each time we repeat it, it focuses on the energetic center of the body because we chant it 7 times. And so it focuses on the 7 different chakras, the energetic center of the body, bringing healing through vibration to every energy center in the body. But what this chant represents and why we do this at the start of the class, this specific one, is it's a devotional invocation to Lord Davantari, the divine physician and the symbol of eternal health, compassion, and the healing wisdom of Ayurveda. So he is like the Lord of Ayurveda. So I'll briefly share the sacred symbolism behind this mantra. And when we look at Ayurvedic philosophy and we're looking at different deities and mythologies, they are there to represent a bigger picture and a deeper meaning. And so Lord Dhanvantari, he holds the Amrit, the nectar of mortality. So you can see here in the picture on the slide, he has the nectar of immortality in his hand, and that represents eternal life and health. Other pictures will show him with a conch and a chakra in his hands, and they symbolize protection, divine order, and purification. And some will also show the leech, which is an ancient Ayurvedic healing tool. So, you know, leeches that suck blood. They are an Ayurvedic healing tool that symbolize the surgical and clinical roots of Ayurveda, whilst others, instead of the leech, might show a pot of herbs as well. So mythologically, Lord Dhanvantari emerged from this great cosmic churning of the ocean, carrying the Amrit, so the elixir of immortality, and he is regarded as the originator of Ayurveda and its surgical traditions, bringing divine healing wisdom to humanity. We will be exploring this story in depth during the philosophy modules, but for now, we're just going to honor his lineage by chanting together, awakening the healer within ourselves. And to lead us off on this chant, because this is more of Helena's expertise, the chanting. So she is going to chant this chant 7 times. You can join in silently, you can join out aloud, or you can just close your eyes and let the sound resonate, just so that you can experience the opening of this class with this beautiful chant. So over to you, Helena. Hang a minute, Helena, you're on mute.
That will help. Hello, everyone. So I would just ask you to sit in a comfortable position, like take a deep breath in and breathing out, relaxing your body. especially your shoulders, neck, face, scalp. But try to bring a little bit less tension for this moment. Just relax while you exhale. Maybe one more deep breath in. And breath in out. And I would like to start with the whole mantra for Dhanvantari, and then we chant this smaller mantra for 7 times. So we put our hands together in front of our heart. Namami Dhanvantariadidevam Shurai Shurai Vandita Pad Padman Loke Jararuk Jayamriti Yunashanam Dataramisham Vivyaushadinam Dataramisham Vidyaushadinam. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Dhanvantari Muritaye Namaha. 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 Om Dhanvantari Mritaye Namaha. One more deep breath in and exhale, opening your eyes and relaxing your arms.
Thank you so much, Helena. So, for those of you who are new, and we've got quite a few new faces, which is so beautiful, a huge welcome to you guys. But you might be sitting there going, what? What? Why are we chanting Ayurveda? So why we do this is an Ayurvedic specific chant. So it really connects us to Lord Dhanvantari, which is the source of Ayurveda, right? And so that's why we're doing it before our teachings. It also, with the sound vibration, is said to help healing and protection. So it can bless medicines and herbs and therapies, calls in balance to the body, the mind, and the spirit. And it reminds us that true healing comes from aligning with the divine wisdom and honoring the sacredness of health, which is what I really love about it. Okay. And so this is one of many, many different chants, but it's so appropriate to us as Ayurvedic consultants and practitioners. And I just want to discuss 2 more health related chants. And so there's a few yogis in the room. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the Gayatri mantra. Yeah, we've heard of Gayatri. Well, this is a beautiful mantra, and the translation is Om. We meditate upon the divine light of the radiant sun. May that light inspire and illuminate our minds. And when we break it down, you can see the Sanskrit. So if you can have a look at this slide here, we've got the mantra Om Bhurvaha Swaha. So I'm just going to touch on some of these words and what they actually mean in translations. So Bura is earth, so it's the physical plane. Bharava is the atmosphere, the mental plane. And Sva is heaven, the spiritual plane. Savitra is the sun, the source of all life and energy. And Dimhai is we meditate upon. And Prakshorya is we may it guide and inspire us. So we can chant this mantra traditionally at sunrise, noon, and sunset, or before study, meditation, or teaching to awaken clarity. And so that's why we want to share this one with you today, because if you desire, then this could be a beautiful way to bring that clarity into your mind before you sit down to study your Ayurvedic studies. It's also a really beautiful mantra to chant if you're in any times of confusion and when some guidance is needed. So Helena, are you happy to just go through this once and just chant this so the students can hear?
Yes. It's interesting that when I learned this mantra with a yoga teacher, he suggests that as long as we practice this mantra, we should try to chant all the mantra in only one exhalation. So breathe in and breathe out all the mantra, and then breathe in, and then so it's just remembering that. But let's get started again, like hands together in front of the heart. Om Bhurбhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yo Na Prachodayat. That's it.
Thank you so much. So as practitioners and students, this mantra can, be used to begin a client session with clarity. So before you even see the clients, to steady yourself before teaching or consultation. So I could have went and done this mantra before jumping on here. And just remember that these mantras, they have a certain power in the resonance, and they're conduits of light. And this helps us as practitioners, as healers, as consultants to remember that we are conduits of light, but we're not the source. And so it helps us to connect to the source. Okay. So the next one, the last one I'm going to share with you guys today is this beautiful mantra. And this one translates to we worship the three-eyed divine. So we worship Lord Shiva, who is fragrant and nourishes all beings. He may liberate us from the bondage of death, granting immortality, just as a ripe fruit is effortlessly released from its stem. So this one is used in times of illness, vulnerability, or transition. And that's why it's appropriate to the health practitioner, because we can use this mantra specifically in these times. As a daily practice, it can also be used for health, longevity, and resilience. During meditation or before healing sessions to invoke protection. And traditionally, it's recited during sacred fire rituals and by Ayurvedic healers for patients. Sorry. So, Helena, would you like to chant this last one for us?
Om Triambaka Yajamahe Sugandhi Pushpivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityormuksha Mangratam.
Thank you. So these slides will be in the portal if you want to look back over the chants, if you want to practice the chants. If any of these resonated with you, then I suggest that you go and reread through all of this, especially if you're feeling a pull. Because, for instance, like this chant here, it helps with protection. It creates a shield of energy guarding against fear and negativity. It reminds us that life's transitions are part of the eternal cycle. And the vibration of chanting, it soothes fear and it helps relieve the survival stress that, we all go through in this modern day world. And not just modern day, stress has been a part of life forever. So this is why these chants were created like 5,000 years ago, right? And it really helps to honor and to nourish our central nervous system. Okay. And I want to bring this quote to you from the Charaka Samhita, which says that health and disease are the reflections of how we live in harmony or disharmony with nature. So really at the core of everything, Ayurveda is all about its connection to nature. And we derive all of the Ayurvedic intelligence from nature around us. We will be learning a lot more about Charaka Samhita in our philosophy lectures. And I'll just briefly explain that the Charaka Samhita is one of the most important classical texts of Ayurveda. And it focuses on internal medicine, which the Sanskrit word is kaya chikitsa. And internal medicine means the healing the body and mind through the lifestyle, diet, herbs, and philosophy, which is exactly what we're learning throughout this program. It explores not only disease and treatment, but also the purpose of life, which I think a lot of health modalities miss. So that's what I really love about Ayurveda. It looks at ethics and it looks at consciousness as well. The Charaka Samhita, it was written as a dialogue between sages. So wisdom passed through the oral tradition, because obviously before textbooks, they only had the oral transition, and then they would subscribe on like palm leaves. And then later, this wisdom was compiled by the sage Charaka, which is why it's called the Charaka Samhita. And it reminds us that Ayurveda is more than just medicine. It's a living philosophy of health, balance, and Dharma. We will also be looking at the important roles of the different sages in Ayurveda. Ayurveda itself is said to originate from Lord Brahma, which is the creator, who passed the knowledge on to the sages. And these key sages are Atriya, which is a teacher of internal medicine, Charaka, which is the compiler of Charaka Samhita, which is where this quote comes from. Susruta, which is the master of surgery, and also the author of the Susruta Samhita, which is another classical text, Ayurvedic text. And Vagbhakta, which is the author of the Ashtanga Hridaya, blending the earlier texts together. So these are some of the most sort of prominent Ayurvedic sages, and they're not just physicians, but they're also seers, so rishis, visionaries who linked health with spirituality and cosmic order. And as I mentioned, we'll be going through this in our philosophy module, how the sages understood health as balance between self, society, and nature, and the concept that the root of disease is the mistake of our intellect. And this timeless wisdom of the sages, it offers our guidance for our modern world. What I love about this study is that it really connects us back to the lineage of Ayurveda, reminding us that as students and practitioners, we walk in the footstep of these stages. So we have a important role to play. we have a leadership role in Ayurveda. And by learning from the sages, we inherit not just their knowledge, but their responsibility to carry Ayurveda forward. Their wisdom teaches us humility, compassion, and the importance of self practice before guiding others. And you guys are all part of this living lineage as Ayurveda Alchemist continues the vision of these great sages. So, again, I want to really thank you all for being here. And now I want to open up the conversation about Ayurveda. So, we've touched a little bit on the philosophy and where it sort of originated from. But I want to know from you guys, when you hear the word Ayurveda, so I say it, Ayurveda, what comes to mind? What comes up? Anyone can unmute their mic or type it in the chat, but I want to hear. Donna, you've unmuted yours.
Yeah. When I hear the word Ayurveda, I feel ancient. I feel past, experienced past. This has been brewing for me for about 5 years. So as we've spoken about harmony, it was as ancient past. The time will be light again.
Yeah, beautiful. So you
wander the journey. Yeah.
Beautiful. So you hear Ayurveda, you hear ancient wisdom and the light.
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you, Donna, for sharing. Christina, you've got your.
I just automatically think of India.
Yep. Well, makes sense. It's where it comes from. Love that. Beautiful. So we're getting there, like a beautiful ancient wisdom that guides us to the light that comes from India. We're already making up our own, definition. Susie has written in the chat, love, connection to love. Emma has written truth. So nice. Beautiful. Yeah, love. I love that. So Ayurveda, it has the essence of healing and balance and nurture and self-care. And it comes from the word Ayurveda is a Sanskrit word. And it comes from the roots ayas, which means life, and Veda is knowledge or science of. And so I say Ayurveda is the knowledge and science of life and longevity. The Vedas, as we know, is knowledge and wisdom, right? They are the texts that this comes through, or the sages that all of this wisdom comes through. And so, in a nutshell, Ayurveda is the science of life. And that's why I feel it's a lifelong learning and a lifelong dedication, and why it's a huge puzzle that we're putting all the pieces together, because it really is such a holistic everything. It's a holistic system, what we've got on the slide here, of health that guides us in living in harmony with nature, preventing disease and supporting our spiritual growth. It's a traditional medicine from India, which is what Christina said, and the healing sister science of yoga. They're actually the three Vedic sciences. We've got Ayurveda, yoga, and Jyotish astrology, and they come together. And it's a system of medicine based on understanding three essential things. Does anyone want to have a go at what these three things may be? One thing. What is this system of Ayurveda based on?
Would dosha be one of them? Constitution?
Constitution? Yeah. We're going to be learning on the next slide.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Astrology? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, astrology, the overseer.
Yep.
Yeah. It's all part
Is
of
it the root cause of all disease is based in the digestion?
digestion. Yeah. Beautiful. And I want to ask some other reflective questions, because I think it's such a beautiful way to learn, is when we're really sort of reflecting on, the basics, the simple of just the word Ayurveda even. But if Ayurveda is the science of life, what part of life do you think it includes? What does it mean by the science of life? Oh, we're getting deep. I've only,
Wholeness,
sorry?
wholeness, completeness.
Wholeness, completeness. Yeah. And so the parts of life that include, you know, our daily routine, our food, our emotions, our spirituality, our relationships, like it's all of life. It's all of our existence. Ayurveda is a whole life system. It's not just a set of treatments. And I think that's what a lot of people that haven't studied Ayurveda don't understand, is that it's not just a diet protocol. It's not just, you know, daily rhythms and dinacharya. It really is a whole system. And so in this course, you will learn Ayurveda not just as theory, but as a personal practice as well that becomes your lived wisdom. And I guess, you know, from that perspective, you're both a student and the laboratory, because it's a science of life, but we're all going through this life one step at a time. So just to bring that into practice a little bit, in one word, how do you feel your current state of health or life balance is right now? You can pop it in the chat. You can unblock your mic. Just one word comes to mind. Process. Love that, Suze. Susie said process is the word that comes up. Even if you just want to write the word down where you are in front of you and reflect on it. And then I just invite you to just place a hand on your heart space and just take a really deep breath in. And notice how the body responds when you're slowing down. How awareness itself is already a practice of Ayurveda. Just noticing. And this simple act, this simple action that we've just experienced together right now, this is Ayurveda in action. It's listening to life. Awareness is the first medicine. Yeah. And so, as we mentioned, it is a holistic system, and it's based on the understanding of three essential things. And these are those three things. It's based on the understanding of the unique nature of the patient, so our prakriti, the unique nature of the disease, our vikriti, and the unique nature of the medicine, ashati and chikitsa. So again, I want to throw this conversation over to you guys, and I want to ask, what makes healing work? Is it the medicine, the patient, or the disease? What makes medicine work?
An understanding of everything, of all of them.
All
Yeah,
three, the connection of all three. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, perfect. It is. It's the relationship between all three. So when we look at the unique nature of the patient, or even ourselves, we're talking about our constitution, our prakriti, the original nature of the person, which is determined at the moment of conception. And it's the balance of the three doshas. So before, one of you mentioned doshas being, part of the system. Yes, it definitely is. And it fits into our unique constitution. And we all have three doshas within us. We're not just one, we're not just vata, we have all three. And we can have all three in different percentages being our natural Prakriti, and that's what makes us all so different. That's what makes our Prakriti, like our Ayurvedic fingerprint, so unique from each and every one of us. No two people are alike. So in saying this, like when we look at Prakriti and we can ask ourselves, how many of you know someone who can thrive on like barely no sleep, and then there's someone else who just naturally needs 9 hours sleep all the time? Like there's those people, right? And I see it in my practice all the time. Some people can function really well at like 7 hours. And there are some people that if they had 7 hours sleep a night, they would be absolutely exhausted. And that's been pretty much a pattern right throughout their life. This is because people have different prakritis, right? And then we look at the unique nature of the disease. And when it's applied to that individual constitution, this is our vikriti, our diseased state or imbalanced state. This happens because after creation, so after our prakriti, we go through different environmental factors. We eat different diets. We do different activities for work. We hang out with certain people, engage in different activities. And so this will push our prakriti out of balance. And that becomes our imbalanced state, our vikriti. For instance, have you ever felt different in winter versus summer? There's probably some of you here that love winter because you feel yourself, whereas some people absolutely hate it, and vice versa. Yeah? It's because the seasons can change our prakriti and the way that we present in the world, the way that we feel in our mind and our body. The doshas are significantly influenced by the environment that we find ourselves in and our daily habits, right? And so anything that we take in through the five senses will alter our balance. Anything we take in through our eyes, so anything we see, we hear, we taste, we smell, it alters our senses, which alters our balance. And our current state, so our Vikriti is our current state, that defines the health challenges, whether they're great or small, that we will experience. And so when we are supporting our clients, we first are supporting their Vikriti, their imbalanced state, because we want to bring them more to a balanced state, closer to their Prakriti. And then the third aspect is the unique nature of the medicine, how the medicine interacts with the patient. And when I say medicine, it's not just herbal medicine, right? It can be diet, it can be lifestyle, it can be breath work, it can be somatic work, it can be herbs. Medicine is, and every medicine has its own unique qualities and energetics. And healing, it comes from the understanding of how these qualities influence the patient's constitution and balance. So again, if we look at the slide, there's actually a list there. So medicine includes all of nature, foods and herbs, colors and sounds, aromas and touch, so massage, different oils, yoga and meditation, different exercise, different daily lifestyle practices. These can be all medicine. And there's a saying in Ayurveda that one man's medicine can also be another man's poison. And that is because we all have a different constitution, which is why we never just prescribe the same thing to everyone that comes to see us. So the same disease and the same medicine will not work the same for every patient. So just taking a little time to reflect on this, I would love for you guys you might even want to close your eyes, breathe into it, but think of a time you felt out of balance. Maybe just go with the most recent time you felt out of balance. And now think about, what was your nature at that time? Were you anxious? Were you fiery? Were you feeling a bit sluggish? And what medicine, so food, rest, connection, any activity, what helped you feel better? And then you can gently open your eyes. And is anyone willing to share their story? Just briefly, just those three things. Maybe a couple of people sharing, just so we can see how different we all are and how different our medicines can be. Anyone? Who we got? There's some flicking on. No? Right, so as future practitioners, your role is to see the whole person, not just the symptoms or the disease. And I think that's the biggest takeaway, because we are all so different. We all have a different medicine that's going to support us.
Um,
Yeah.
I can share. I'm not quite sure if it's what you want us to share, but
Yeah.
so
Go
from
ahead.
we said the three things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did something little that was I think it was last week. I was just, I'm in Melbourne and it was cold and I just felt really unsettled and I just grabbed the Vata oil and
Yeah.
rubbed it on my feet.
Perfect.
And it was amazing. Like just that, you just noticed a big shift. It felt so nourishing and I felt so much more grounded. So I'm not sure if that's what you mean, just a little practice.
100% what I mean. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
the Vikriti, she said is Vata. So she had, due to the environment, it was really cold, so increased her Vata. And her medicine, she went for grounding, so massaging the feet, but also with oil, which is to support the Vata dosha. So that was her medicine, right? Yet if someone else was here, maybe on the
All
Gold
the
Coast, sorry?
just all the herbs and just all that was just so nourishing and grounding because just the vata, the cold, just aggravated me and it was just so it just felt like a hug. So that
Oh,
really worked
lovely.
for me.
Yeah, and can you imagine if another one of us on that exact same day, we were maybe in Queensland or I don't know, the States. I don't know whether you're in now, probably, you're getting cold over there, but you were somewhere really hot and you were walking on hot bitumen, you had hot feet and you sat down and then you grabbed oil and started massaging your feet, you'd be like, ugh, like too warm, like don't touch, that's probably not what you needed in that moment. So again, medicine for one person cannot be the same for another. And Ayurveda, it really teaches us to heal. We must know the patient, the imbalance, which Rebecca already said was her Vata imbalance, and the medicine, which for her was the oil and nourishing and grounding through her feet. Helena, did you have something to say? You got your hand up?
Very quick.
Mhm.
Just a thought that we live in a world where we see a lot of trendy diets or even trendy lifestyles and a lot of informations coming from every side. And there's a known quote on Charak Samhita that resonates with this slide and the topics we are talking about that says, nothing is beneficial for everyone at the same time. And when we say time, we can consider the period of time, but also the time of the person life, and in the same dosage. So
Absolutely.
everything changes depending on these three essentials that we are talking about. It will be never the same for me and for you. Each one is completely different.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that brings us to this quote that one who understands their own constitution knows the secret to health. And I think that's what really sets Ayurveda apart from a lot of other health systems. And I have in my book, Ayurveda and the Alchemy of Her, I have a story about these three friends, and it's more of a modern story to show the different constitutions and how they represent. But there is a story about the three friends at a feast, which is an Ayurvedic teaching. And I'll share that with you. So long ago in an Indian village, there were these three close friends, and they were invited to a really grand feast after a harvest. Aran, quick and wiry, loved excitement and variety. So he rushed to the feast, piling his plate high with every dish: spicy curries, fried sweets, sour pickles. He ate quickly, talked rapidly, and soon felt really restless and bloated. Sounds a little bit like someone I know. And then there was Dev. He was fiery and ambitious and wanted the best of everything. So he sought out the hottest chili dish and drank sour buttermilk to prove his strength. Afterward, his face flushed and he snapped impatiently when others bumped into him. And then there was Soma. Gentle and steady, moved slowly through the line. He chose rich sweets and heavy rice puddings. He ate slowly, enjoying every bite, but later felt really heavy and sluggish and ready to sleep. The village elder, who was a wise Ayurvedic healer, watched quietly. And after the meal, he called them together and said, "Each of you ate as your desires command, but not as your nature required. Arun, with your airy Vata constitution, you need warm, grounding, simple foods. Dev, with your fiery Pitta nature, cooling and calming dishes would keep your fire in balance. Soma, with your earthy Kapha nature, lighter, spiced foods would bring you energy and clarity. When you forget your constitution, food becomes poison. But when you honor your constitution, food becomes medicine." And the three friends nodded, realizing that the secret of health was not the food itself, but knowing who they were. So we can see from this story that we have a Vata, Pitta, and a Kapha constitution. And the Vata was showing the imbalance through restlessness and bloating after eating more things that exacerbated the Vata. The Pitta showed heat, irritation, and sharpness, whereas a Kapha's imbalance showed them being heavy and tired and stagnant. When we understand our Prakriti or our constitution, we can make choices that really support balance, vitality, and longevity. And that's why it is such an important aspect of Ayurveda. Okay, so does anyone have any questions so far? No? Okay, beautiful. So Ayurveda, as I mentioned at the very start, is rooted in philosophy, and it asks, what is life? What is health? What causes suffering? And what brings us liberation? Yeah. It's not just a medical system, it's a philosophy of life. And the philosophy, which in Ayurveda we call Dardasana, is the way of seeing. There are 6 philosophical schools of India, which is called the Saddasanas. And Ayurveda draws directly from Sankhya, which is a cosmic map of creation, and Yoga, which is the path of union. In the philosophy module, we'll be looking a lot at the Sankhya philosophy. So I want to ask you guys again, why do you think a medical science would care about questions like what is life and what causes suffering? Why do we use philosophy as a foundation and ask these type of things? Suze, I can see you deep in thought here. Is something coming through?
You know, there's so much I could say, and that, yeah, there's so much coming through, but simplifying it is, you know, is the key. So that's what I was kind of waiting for. But I think it's because we are of the earth, we are of the heavens, we are of everything here. We are it, and it is us. And I think anything that aids us and guides us to deeply connect to relational intelligence is going to support healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful answer. And it says there as well, like, how you live is how you lead. When your nervous system is regulated, your presence becomes medicine for others. And it's also, we say, even in the business realm, that you attract different people depending on your vibe. Yeah. And this is what happens when we balance ourselves, when we regulate ourselves. We are calling in those that we can support, because us being balanced and regulated is our medicine to offer other people around us. And that's why embodying the practices of Ayurveda is so important for a consultant and a practitioner. So I want to, talk about the science of conscious choices, because this is all part of Ayurveda and the philosophy of wholeness is our nature, and forgetting that leads to imbalance. Healing is a remembrance, and the tools are awareness, rituals, and nature's rhythms. And so there's multiple things that could mean, right? And one of the biggest takeaways from the Ayurvedic philosophy part of healing is that what causes any dis-ease is the mistake of the intellect. So that is forgetting we are whole and acting against our wisdom. This is the root cause of disease in Ayurveda. So as an example, if we're overworking, if we're ignoring our body's signals, we're eating late at night, we're forgetting our nature, and then imbalance will follow, and this can lead to burnout. And I'm sure that most of us here, including myself, have been a victim of this, right? Going against our true nature. So I just want you to take a moment just to reflect and to think, when was a time that you forgot your body's signals or didn't listen to your body's signals, and what happened as a result? Now, I got so many times I can think back to, so many different times. But the quicker we are aware and we recognize, the quicker we can turn this around, because healing is remembering. And Ayurveda gives us practices like dinacharya, so our daily rhythm and routine, and awareness of the elements to help us remember.
Harmony, can you say that again? What you said, like the root cause of disease, did you say is disconnect of the intellect, or what were
Yeah,
the
sure.
words?
I can repeat that. I thought you meant the last sentence I said. I'm like, man, I'm speaking off the cuff. I have no idea what I just said.
Sorry, yeah.
It's when it is when you make a mistake of the intellect. That's what it means. So it's forgetting that you're whole, and it also means that you're acting against wisdom, because wisdom is balance. Wisdom is our wholeness. Wisdom is our truth. So when we act against that, for example, the example I gave was overworking, eating late at night, caffeining ourselves to get things done. That's acting against wisdom and our intellect, because we know better. Every choice shapes our health and destiny. And sattvic choices, which means pure, clear choices, they nourish our body and the mind. Whereas misaligned choices create imbalance and suffering. And Ayurveda is a science of conscious living. And we, as Ayurvedic consultants and practitioners, are leaders in this space. And so we're defined by the quality of our choices. And self-awareness turns habits into healing practices. Another point I want to discuss is that we have a personal responsibility. And that personal responsibility gives us our power. Yeah. And that is to approach life with non-judgment. See cause and effect without blame, because that makes us a really good practitioner. We need to own our energy, but not shame ourselves or the person in front of us, our client, for maybe what they've done in the past to lead them to this imbalance. That's part of being non-judgmental, and also with ourselves. And the more responsibility we take, the more powerful and free we become. And we reclaim power when we respond with awareness instead of self-criticism. So become aware of your patterns, become aware of who you are, your reactions, without judgment, without self-criticism, and then lead yourself back to balance. Radical responsibility is the foundation of trust and compassion, and it's essential for practitioners who hold space for others' healing. Does that all make sense? Are we all on the board of personal responsibility and power? And that comes through everything in life, but your studies as well, taking responsibility to learn, to understand, and to step into your higher self and be the best version you can be in this new role that you're taking on, whether that's just for yourself or to support others. But what I do want to say with all of that in mind is that Ayurveda and this pathway, this journey, it certainly is not about perfection. It's almost the opposite. It's about self-love with discipline. Ayurveda teaches that perfect health parallels the path to enlightenment. And that's what the three Vedic sciences do. When you merge them together, yoga, Ayurveda, and Jyotish, astrology, is it makes that path to enlightenment quicker, apparently. But perfectionism is not the starting point, because as we know, Ayurveda is the science of life. Therefore, it's a lifelong journey. You're not going to have, whilst you're on a 12-month program, you're not going to have the whole journey complete in 12 months, because Ayurveda is the science of life. And the real path is built on sattva, so that's clarity, abhyasa, which is practice, and shraddha, which is faith. And we also have to understand that when we speak of self-love from the Ayurvedic perspective, it's not indulgence. It is respect for the divine spark within. It's respect for the higher self activation. And the Ayurveda alchemists, we are built on the higher self methodology. It's all about stepping into that version of ourself. When we love ourselves, we naturally choose what nourishes our mind, body, and spirit. We create safety in the nervous system, which allows for deeper healing. So again, this might mean choosing to rest instead of scrolling late at night, because the rest is an act of self-love. And there is another Ayurvedic quote that says, "He who loves himself never injures another." And this journey is also discipline as devotion. So not taking that further than it needs to be, but discipline, the Sanskrit word tapas, it's not punishment. It is sacred devotion to our own growth. And sometimes if we're in balance with our pitta constitution, we can take this discipline and this tapas and turn it into a punishment. It's about routine. This is tapas, dinacharya, regular meals, meditations, mindful choices to keep the mind steady and the prana flowing. Without discipline, self-love becomes comfort seeking, but with discipline, it can become transformation. So Rebecca gave us a beautiful example before, as she practiced this self-love when she was feeling out of balance. She chose Abhyanga, daily massage. And this may feel like a small practice, but when it's done consistently, or even when trying to balance, in the example Rebecca gave us, it rewires the body towards safety and self-worth. And that's why she felt so much better after it, right? The more responsible you are, the more powerful you are. And that is a quote of Charaka Samhita. So we need to balance the two. We need to have that self-love and discipline. And so they're like two wings of a bird. They're both needed to really take flight. Too much self-love without discipline can become indulgent, can turn into lethargy, can turn into imbalance. But too much discipline without self-love can be rigidity, burnout, ego-driven perfectionism. So I'm going to ask you guys, should you live gently in self-love or strictly in discipline? Yeah, Susie.
Both.
Both. Yeah.
The balance, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's another Ayurvedic teaching that if the flame is too soft, like if you think of you know, those old school lamps they would have had in the Ayurvedic times, the old school lamps, if the flame is too soft, it flickers out. So there's no discipline. But if the flame is too harsh, it burns the oil too quickly and there's no self-love. But with the right balance, the flame shines steadily and brightly for a really long time. So just some reflections that you're welcome to write your answers down or just have a little moment to reflect on this. But the first one is, where in your life is ego-driven perfectionism showing up? And if you deal with a lot of this, then maybe your pitta is a little bit of imbalance at the moment. And where might you be choosing comfort over growth? And how can you honor yourself today with both love and discipline? Because that right there is the practice of Ayurveda. Now, we've discussed philosophy being a foundation of Ayurveda, and I absolutely love teaching Ayurvedic philosophy because there's always something so deep to learn and reflect upon within the time we're hearing it, within the time we are hearing the teachings. And it can be different. Like, you know, Helena spoke about different times of life for people. You might hear something once, you hear the exact same thing again at a different point in your life, and it makes a complete different transformation in your mind. In Sankhya philosophy, creation arises from the interplay of Purusha, which is pure consciousness, higher self, it's the soul, okay? So at the moment, we want to look at, because we've just been speaking about conscious choices, we've been speaking about discipline and self-love, and so we want to now reflect on the dance between the ego and the soul. And we're going to come back, we're going to link that back to the Sankhya philosophy. And it says that creation arises from the interplay of Purusha, which is that pure consciousness, the higher self, the soul, and Prakriti, which is nature, including ego. And the Sanskrit word for ego is ahamkara. The ego, or our ahamkara, is necessary for daily function because it gives us identity. And we use that in the world that we're in to function. But when ego dominates, we become disconnected from our higher self, our Atman, our Purusha. Ayurveda teaches that disease arises when we forget our true nature as spirit and live only through the ego. You can see how everything is slowly starting to connect. You see these puzzle pieces are slowly building together over everything we've even discussed. So what are some ego-driven choices? Again, it could be working really hard, really late at night and missing spending time with your family just for recognition in your workplace, to be seen as that successful one, and then ignoring signs of fatigue. It could be eating for comfort or stress instead of nourishment. It could be comparing yourself to others, leading to anxiety or resentment. But what would some higher self choices be? It would be saying no to an extra project or just to protect your rest, your clarity, and the time that you seek with your family, if you've said that's your values. It would be eating fresh sattvic food because it sustains energy and your balance. It would be celebrating others' success and trusting your own path and timing instead of displaying resentment to someone else. The ego keeps us in survival mode, which is our sympathetic activation. It's that fight or flight response. Whereas our higher self leads from regulation. It's that parasympathetic activation. It's balance, it's rest, it's digest, it's healing. And so at the very start of the class, we went into mantra, right? And Ayurveda teaches that practices such as mantra or meditation or dinacharya or pranayama, anything like that, soothes ego-driven reactivity and connects us to soul-driven clarity. And that's why it can be a powerful practice before engaging in this self-study, this study of Ayurveda, of embodiment. So another story time for you guys, just so we can put this into practice. I want you to imagine you are in a car with two different drivers. The ego is restless, impatient. It's always honking and speeding. It gets you places quickly, but burns fuel and sometimes causes accidents. Whereas the higher self drives steadily, follows the signs, and takes the scenic routes. You might feel slower, but you arrive calm, safe, and with energy to keep going. And this just shows that health comes when we let the higher self take the wheel and invite the ego to sit in the passenger seat. It can be useful, but it certainly should not be in charge. So again, bringing this practice into embodiment, I want you to reflect on one decision you made this week from ego and one from your higher self. And how did each feel in your body and nervous system? I know when I'm making a decision from my ego, there's a certain constriction in my body or an angst almost. Whereas if I'm making that same decision from my higher self, there's a lightness, there's an expansion, there's almost like an exhale. It's like a, and that makes sense because the exhale is the parasympathetic aspect of your breath. Whereas that inhale and hold is the sympathetic. So I want to share this Ayurvedic teaching and story with you that we are going to dive deeper in when we get to the philosophy next week. But this is the story of the churning of the oceans. Remember, we just spoke about Lord Dhanvantari, and his reference to the churning of the ocean. So this, in reference to one of Ayurveda's origin stories, it goes that long ago, the devas, which are the gods, and asuras, which are the demons, they work together to churn the cosmic ocean to bring forth Amrit, the nectar of immortality, that we spoke Lord Dhanvantari was holding. The asuras, so in this concept, is the ego, churned with greed, wanting power, recognition, and immortality for themselves. Whereas the diva, the higher self, churned with devotion, wanting to restore balance and health to the cosmos. Together they stir the ocean with Mount Mandras as the churning rod, balanced on Lord Vishnu in the form of a tortoise, and the tortoise symbolizes grounding and stability. At first, poison emerged, representing the toxins of the ego and desire. Only when Lord Shiva, the great yogi, drank the poison out of compassion could the churning continue. Finally, Lord Dhanvantari emerged holding the pot of Amrit, the symbol of healing wisdom and true immortality. And so when we look at this story and break it down, the ocean represents the consciousness. The divas, they represent the soul qualities, truth, compassion, clarity. The asuras, they represent the ego qualities, the greed, the fear, and the control. But the churning, that represents our daily choices and struggles. The poison represents our stress, imbalance, and disease when ego dominates. And the Amrit is that perfect health, that balance and alignment with the higher self. So I think when we look at this story and what we've learned so far, the message is that your life will always be a churning of ego and soul. We're human, yeah? But when you practice Ayurveda through breath, food, lifestyle, and self-awareness and radical responsibility, you create steadiness like the tortoise, you manage the poisons like stress, and you allow the nectar of health and wisdom to rise within. Which now brings me to the understanding of karma, because I feel like in the modern external world, it is often misrepresented, we'll say. Karma is your action, okay? And those actions are done through the choices that you make, and every action plants a seed. The selfish action of the ego binds us in cycles of stress and suffering, whereas selfless action aligned with Dharma liberates us, strengthening resilience and clarity. Our health and leadership both flourish when actions are sattvic, so they're rooted in truth and compassion. The word karma itself, it means lakri. So in Sanskrit is broken up. Sanskrit words are broken up in with the root, and the root of karma is kri, which means to act. So every action, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, or energetic, it plants that seed. Those seeds ripen into experiences that shape our health, our relationships, and even our next life. In Ayurveda, karma explains why two people with the same disease can experience it differently. Their actions, impressions will shape their resilience and the way that they manage it as well. When we look at the egoic action, it's really motivated by fear, greed, or the desire for recognition. And it binds us in cycles of stress, disease, and dissatisfaction. So an example of this is if we're going to, say we've got deadlines, whether to meet in work or programs or whatever it is, and we're already feeling exhausted, but we really push the body with stimulants to meet those deadlines, and we ignore that exhaustion. That's an example of egoic action, creating more poison to the body, or what we call as well as armor. Whereas if we lead with selfless dharmic action, it's motivated by service, by truth and compassion. It liberates us, it strengthens clarity and nurtures resilience. So this could be saying no to overwork so you can show up rested and present for your family or clients. Is this all coming together and making sense? Does anyone have any questions? No. I would love for someone to speak on sattva, what their understanding is of living sattvically, what it means. Who's gonna have a go? Sattva is purity. It is lightness. And choosing to live sattvically means choosing foods, thoughts, and actions that nourish you instead of deplete you. So at the very basic, if we just say live a sattvic lifestyle, we're practicing Ayurveda. Yeah. And selfless sattvic action restores rest and digest, and it rebuilds our ojas and our resilience. Who can remember what ojas is? And I'm not expecting anyone who's new on the call to know what ojas is at all, but maybe somebody here knows what ojas is. Sattva builds ojas. Ojas is that vitality, immunity. Yes, Suze, did you have something to add?
Kind of like I kind of see it as like an end product, that it starts flowing through our body like a reservoir of goodness for immunity, for resilience, for all of those things that we need to create the friction of tapas, to be able to live with the discipline that we need. So it's like, if we think of it as the refined state of kapha, it's from our diligent duty to self through everything you've been talking about that then creates these qualities that becomes a reservoir, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And so beautifully said. Love that. Beautiful. So as an Ayurvedic practitioner, consultant, or just someone who understands it, your karma is your leadership legacy. So every choice, so how you speak, how you eat, how you respond, plant seeds in others as well as yourself. So we ask ourselves these important questions because the questions we ask ourselves will determine the outcomes of our life and how we show up in that. So we ask ourselves, will this action create healing or harm? Is it sattvic or is it not? Will it ripple sattva or stress into the world? Every moment is a chance to create new karma, to heal ourselves and serve others. And so another reflective practice I would love for you to think about either now briefly or after this session is think of one action this week that felt really ego driven and how did it affect your mind and body? And then think of one that was selfless and how did that feel in your heart and your nervous system? Right. Does anyone want another Ayurvedic story? Who likes the story times? Yay, we like the story times. I love them because I think it helps to embed the teachings and they come from like ancient Ayurvedic texts and whatnot. So this story is of Arjuna on the battlefield. So this is from the Bhagavad Gita. Ooh, I'm getting some love hearts. So you love the stories. Beautiful. Okay, so on the eve of the Great Mahabharata War, the warrior Arjuna stood on the battlefield, trembling with despair. He saw his teachers, cousins, and loved ones on both sides. His ego, Ahamkara, whispered, "If I fight, I will cause suffering. If I don't fight, I will lose honor. Both paths bring me pain." Arjuna dropped his bow, paralyzed by confusion. At this moment, Lord Krishna, the divine charioteer and symbol of the higher self, spoke the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. You cannot escape action. To live is to act, but you can choose to act without attachment to reward. When you align your actions with Dharma, your higher duty, you act selflessly. That action becomes yoga, union with the divine. Now, Arjuna realized that selfless dharmic action purifies karma, while selfish action binds it. With renewed clarity, he picked up his bow, not out of ego or anger, but as an instrument of dharma. So the teachings from this story is that Arjuna is the human self torn between ego and soul. The battlefield represents life itself with its challenges and responsibilities. And Krishna is the higher self or the voice of Dharma and wisdom. And the bow is our capacity for action. How we use it determines karma. So the lesson through this is that we cannot avoid karma, but when we act with love, clarity, and alignment to Dharma, our actions liberate instead of bind us. And part of our Dharma and part of karma is being able to embody compassion and empathy. Again, it's not to say that we have to be perfect all of the time, because myself included, and I'm sure all of us are far from perfect. We're human and we're meant to be human and we're meant to have lived human experiences. And sometimes that includes selfish action, and that is just part of the journey. Suffering is part of learning. But then we have to apply the practices of non-judgment to ourselves, because that is compassion. And compassion allows us to step into the conscious witness that we are. And from this space, self-love arises. The witness state creates safety. Self-love, as we spoke about, sustains growth. And compassion regulates and expands it. A compassionate practitioner, health consultant, is a safe practitioner. And people will feel that around you. They will either feel safe or not. But everyone in here, I'm sure wherever you go, people feel safe around you guys, because this program draws in all the most amazing, beautiful women I know. So a quote is that compassion is the root of Dharma. And Dharma is one's true purpose, duty, or way of living in harmony with self, others, and nature. No matter what you're doing. So you can walk that dharmic path no matter what you're doing. It doesn't have to be one big calling. If your dharma today is to show up to this call, and everyone who's here is to show up wholeheartedly. The root of dharma is not rigid rules, it's compassion. When choices are guided by compassion, they naturally align with truth, balance, and service, and are sattvic, yeah? So as future practitioners, compassion ensures that your knowledge is used to heal and not to judge. And I think that's really important in the health and wellness space and the natural health and wellness space for sure. It keeps our Dharma alive, and compassion is really relevant in every moment. And that includes the compassion that we need to have for ourselves as well. So that brings me to the East and West, Ayurveda and spirituality. Now, I have a leg in both. I am in both worlds. I was trained in allopathic Western medicine. I've been trained in Eastern medicine. Ayurveda, though, one myth that I would like to bust is Ayurveda is not a religion. Okay, even though when you first come onto this call and we're doing some chants and we're talking about these deities and different lords and gods and, you know, different concepts in Ayurveda, it is not specifically a religion. It's a science of life. And its goal is health, clarity, and alignment so that we can live our dharma and progress towards liberation, towards moksha, towards enlightenment. It does not ask you to convert, but to really just live in rhythm with nature. Ayurveda does honor spiritual connection beyond the ego. And it does teach us that forgetting our true nature, which is our spirit, is the root cause of disease. It also says that health is not just physical. It's remembering we are connected to something greater than ego or identity, to ahamkara. And this connection can look different to all different people. So it could be a devotion to a god, whatever you call God to be. It could be a certain deity. It could be Krishna, Shiva, God, Allah. You know, it can be a devotion to what we call a god. But for some people, it might be a connection to universal consciousness, to Purusha. For some, it could just be a reverence for nature, for earth, or what we call source, this creation. Whatever your path, Ayurveda supports it. But it is closed in Hinduism, but that is a universal wisdom. And that's because Ayurveda grew in India. So it often uses Hindu symbols and languages, such as like the mantras, like the Gayatri mantra that we spoke of at the start of the session, or the deities like Dhanvantari, who's a divine healer. And these deities can be seen as mythological. So were they there? Were they not there? Again, it's not a religion. It is a spiritual philosophy and science and art form. And the essence really is universal. So when we do chant a mantra, we're just using sound vibrations to calm the nervous system, if we want to look at how this translates into the West. When we are speaking of Dhanvantari and honoring through a chant, we're just honoring healing and medicines in all forms. When we're observing seasonal rituals, we're just syncing lifestyle with cycles of nature. So perhaps someone studying with us may be a Christian student, and they can chant the Gayatri not as a Hindu prayer, but as a meditation on divine light. Or a Buddhist may see Dhanvantari not as a god, but as a symbol of compassion and healing. So these practices, they're a lifestyle, they're a connection to self and beyond. Ayurveda wears the Indian cultural dress, but it's a body of universal science, of compassion and connection. It's the universality of selflessness, as we spoke about. Selfless action, ego, creates stress and suffering, while selfless action aligned with Dharma purifies karma. And this is embedded in all different traditional values and different traditions, such as Christianity. Love, they speak of love thy neighbor as yourself. This is a service as an expression of divine love. Whereas Buddhism, they vow that compassionately to serve all beings before seeking individual liberation. And in Islam, charity, like selfless service, is one of the 5 pillars of faith. And Hinduism, karma, yoga, serving without attachment to reward. There's indigenous traditions that are giving back to the earth and the community as a sacred responsibility. So these traditions, they all have something in common. And it's examples of selfless service and serving with compassion. And some modern examples could be like a nurse staying present with a patient in pain, even if it's triggering her or it's making her uncomfortable. It can be a teacher listening deeply to a struggling student, offering time and presence without expectation. A parent caring for their child in the middle of the night, sacrificing sleep, but it's guided by love. Or it could be you guys as practitioners offering healing practices not for recognition, but to ease suffering. And so I guess the takeaway is that it really is a universal teaching. And as we sort of complete this foundational understanding of Ayurvedic philosophy, it's really the foundation of Ayurveda, but then comes these other frameworks that make it more of a science as well. And so we go from philosophy into our elemental theories, which brings me to the 5 elements, which are earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So the philosophy or the dasanas, they give us the why of Ayurveda. And here, this is where we understand health is harmony and disease is imbalance. And the root cause of all disease begins with the mistake of the intellect, yeah? When we lose connection to our true self and make choices that go against our inner wisdom. And then from there, we step into the next concept, the elemental theory, the Pancha Mahabhutas, or the 5 great elements. These 5 great elements are the building blocks of both the universe and the human body. And they have these 20 gunas which are expressed through them. And gunas are the qualities, so 10 pairs of opposites that shape all sensory and physiological experience. And this is where we begin to apply the core Ayurvedic principle of like increases like and opposites bring balance. And then those elements with their gunas make up the 3 doshas, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, the bioenergetic forces that govern all biological functions. And part of this system are the subtle essence that sustain life. So prana is life force energy. Tejas is the cellular intelligence and inner radiance. And ojas, that we spoke of before, is immunity, resilience, and vitality. And from here, we enter the mind with the 3 mahagunas, the 3 great gunas of sattva, rajas, and tamas, which define the mental and emotional landscapes. When we understand all of this, we then will be learning about dinacharya, different practices that regulate the doshas, nourish prana, tejas, and ojas, and help us live with clarity and purpose. So I'm just checking on, what is the time, guys? How am I going for time? I've got a little bit more time. Good. So we're going to integrate this framework now. But I have lost the slide that I am up to. Here we are. Okay. So from the elements, the 5 elements, we have these attributes, these gunas. And they are hot, cold, moist, dry, heavy, light, gross, subtle, dense, flowing, sattvic, mobile, dull, sharp, soft, hard, smooth, rough, cloudy, clear. So each of the 5 elements are represented by some of these attributes. And each of the 5 elements make up the doshas. These gunas, they can either aggravate, so increase someone's dosha or their element, or it can decrease and pacify it, which is why in Ayurveda we talk about like attracts like, or opposites will decrease or balance each other out. It's very simple when we start working with Ayurveda, when we can understand the person's prakriti, the vikriti, and the medicine, because we know that when we can understand this, all we're doing is balancing the elements. We're balancing the gunas of the elements. That's what we're doing. So just to put this into practice, talking about the elements, the doshas and the gunas, I'm just going to run through 6 quick questions and I want you to write A, B, or C. It's sort of like a dosha quiz. I just want you to go with how you feel now, though, your instinct. So number 1, body frame and weight. Would you say that you're A, you're thin, you have a light build, and you can lose weight easily? B, you're more medium, have a muscular build, and your weight stays fairly stable? Or C, you have a larger solid build and weight may accumulate easier? So A, B, or C, write it down. Looking at your skin and hair, would you describe it as A, more dry, rough, maybe cool skin, hair a little bit thin and brittle? B, you're warm, you've got sensitive skin, hair is fine or prone to greasiness, or maybe premature graying? Or C, soft, smooth, oily skin and thick, wavy hair? When it comes to your energy levels, would you say A, that you have energetic bursts, but you tire quickly? B, you've got strong and steady energy, you're driven and productive? Or C, your energy is consistent, slow energy, may feel sluggish at times? For looking at your digestion, would you describe it as A, irregular, often bloated or constipated? B, you have strong digestion, you can eat almost anything? Or C, slow digestion, feels heavy after meals? 5, how would you describe your response to stress? A, you get anxious, overwhelmed, or scattered. B, you become irritable, impatient, or fiery. C, you become withdrawn, calm, or unmotivated. And the last one is, what is your weather preference? A, you like warmth, you don't like cold or wind. B, you enjoy cooler climates, dislikes heat. Or C, you prefer warm, moist environments like cold, damp weather. Okay, so if you, so calculate your A, B's, and C's. At the moment, if you chose A as your highest scoring letter, then you are more aligned with the Vata constitution or Vata Vikriti at the moment, which is the ether and air elements. Yeah. If you said B, then you are more aligned with the Pitta constitution, which is fire and earth. And if you said C, you're more aligned with the Kapha constitution, which is earth and water. So some of the gunas or the attributes of the Vata constitution, the ether and the air element, can someone unlock themselves from their microphone and let me know what some of the gunas may be? Let's go back to the guna list for ether and air. So it could be cold, air could be cold, dry, light, if we're going down the list, subtle, flowing, it can be mobile. Yeah, it could be rough. Ether is clear. So we can see that the guna or the attributes of vata or the ether and air elements could be these ones we just spoke of: cold, dry, subtle, mobile. And then they have an opposite. So what we want to do to balance the A's out is to bring in more of the opposite gunas. Maybe some more warmth, more heaviness, more moistness, more stillness. If we look at the B's, if you said you're B, there's more of that fire element, then what are the gunas that can describe the fire element? Well, it can be hot. Fire can also be drying. It can be light. It can be subtle. It can be sharp. Yeah. So these are some of the gunas or the attributes that describe the fire element. So then we need to bring in the opposite. If it's sharp, if we're feeling sharpness, then dull. Yeah. Is this making sense? Heat, we bring in cold. And then if we got more C's, kapha, earth element, the attributes that contribute to the earth element is heaviness, it's gross, it's dense, it's static, it's dull. These are different attributes that contribute to the earth element. So how we can put this in practice is like increases like, and opposites will bring about balance. So what I want you guys to do is just in your seats, close your eyes, take a big deep breath in and a big breath out. Now, if you are if you are Vata, I want you to place your feet firmly on the ground. I want you to close your eyes, take a few deep belly breaths, and imagine roots growing from the soles of your feet to the earth. And just stay with that visualization for a while. If you feel more heated, if you were more pitta, I want you to close your eyes and visualize a cool waterfall cascading over your head, softening your shoulders and heart. Just breathing slowly and deeply and feeling the coolness wash over you. And if you're feeling a bit heavy, a bit kapha, too much earth element, I actually want you to stand tall and stretch your arms overhead. And take 3 energizing breaths, lifting onto your toes as you inhale and lower as you exhale. And imagine lightness filling your body. And then when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. And this is just a practice of self-awareness to understand the qualities to understand the elements and the doshas that are presenting within us at this moment. But the practice we just did to balance is something you can do any time to reset and bring more balance to your day. Could you feel the effect of allowing the opposite? I mean, we weren't there doing it for a long period of time, but it's just understanding and bringing those opposite aspects to balance the qualities that are being aggravated within. Okay, so that was an overview of bringing it all together. But now we're going to break it down so that you understand it a little bit deeper. So the 5 elements are the Pancha Mahabhutas. And the 5 elements are a concept in Ayurveda that says everything in the universe, including the human body, is made up of these 5 great elements. So we have ether, which is also called space. And the elements is openness. This element represents the connectedness. The core qualities, or the gunas that we spoke of, that represent ether are clear, subtle, and light. And its primary expression as a dosha is vata. And the functions in the mind and the body is openness, sound, and connectedness. Air, the qualities of air are cold, dry, mobile, and rough. And it's expressed through the vata dosha. And in the mind and the body, the air elements represents the movement, the breath, and circulation. The fire elements, hot, sharp, light, clear. And it's expressed through the pitta dosha. It represents digestion, metabolism, and vision. Water, the core qualities are cold, moist, heavy, smooth. And it's expressed through the kapha and the pitta constitution. The function in the mind and the body is cohesion, fluids, different emotions, compassion. Earth element, the core qualities are heavy, dense, stable, and gross. And it's expressed through the kapha constitution. And it represents in the mind and the body as structure, bones, stability, endurance. So when the doshas are balanced, our health flourishes. But when they're out of balance, dis-ease arises. And they're usually out of balance because we've mistaken our intellect and done things to, or been in an environment or something to express an imbalance because the qualities have changed. Does anyone have any questions before I move on to the doshas? No, we all good? Are we all understanding it? Or is it like, it's a lot, it's a lot of information. It is a lot of information because we're overviewing everything in Ayurveda in this first lesson, and then we break it down into the modules. So you're doing really well. So in Ayurveda, the great elements, so the Pancha Mahabhutas, combine to form the 3 doshas, which are then expressed as a unique blend of the 20 gunas, which are the qualities found in nature. So that's what we've just covered. Vata is the ether and the air element. And it carries the qualities of cold, light, dry, and mobile, making its principal action being movement. So everything that is governed by movement is governed by Vata. Pitta arises from fire with a bit of water, and I think of the water as more of that oily sort of heated water. And it carries the qualities of heat, sharpness, and lightness. And it's the principle of transformation and metabolism. And then we have Kapha, which arises from earth and water, carrying the qualities of heaviness, moisture, and stability. and it's the principle of structure and cohesion. So in essence, the elements create qualities, the qualities creates the doshas govern the function of the mind and the body, and when the qualities are balanced, we're in great health. But when they're excessive, they disturb the doshas and create dis-ease. So that's from an Ayurvedic pathophysiology aspect. The elements in the body can show up as the spaces in our joints, the gaps that allow communication between the cells. It also governs self-expression. Air, responsible for movement, so our breath, our circulation, nerve impulses, and when balanced, it fuels creativity. The fire is our digestion, our metabolism, and our intellect. And the fire element is behind your body's temperature, your glow, your drive. Water in the body is represented in all of our bodily fluids, our lymph, our plasma. It cools and nourishes the body. And earth is found in our bones, muscle, and tissues, and it gives us form, structure, and grounding. So we can see here that the ether and the air together creates vata, responsible for movement, creativity, and change. If we're simplifying things, pitta is fire and water, responsible for transformation, digestion, and intensity. And water with earth is the kapha dosha, is responsible for stability, nourishment, and calmness. Each of us carries all three doshas, but in different proportions. And one or two will typically dominate, shaping our body type, our personality, and our strengths, but also our vulnerabilities. So, just checking there. Okay, I've got a couple of minutes left. We've only got a couple of minutes left. So I'm going to go through these doshas briefly. You can, as I said, these slides are in the portal, so you can read all of this as well. But when we look at a typical Vata person, they are someone who, when they're balanced, they can be very independent, very creative. They're free spirits, but under stress, they may worry, develop anxiety, and become scattered or overwhelmed. The Vata imbalance can show up as that sort of anxiety, that restlessness or overwhelm. They can have really dry skin, which is why Abhyanga is so important for them. They can have constipation and joint pain. Insomnia is a really big thing for Vata individuals, and scattered thinking. So if you're always feeling on the go, but you really struggle to ground yourself, then Vata may be dominant constitution for you. For Pitta, we're not onto the Pitta slide yet. So Pitta, they are very much driven. They're ambitious people. They're really good leaders. They're very passionate, but under stress, their emotions can become really intense. They can become sharp. They can be angry or jealous and resentful. In the body, it can show up as inflammation, as heat. So if we're thinking of any inflammatory disorders, any reflux, any heat, any oily skin, acne, anything like that is more of a pitta. When we look at sort of a typical pitta, they have more of a medium sort of build, maybe more muscular build as well. When we look at the hand of a pitta person, it'll be more of a square palm, medium fingers. Nails will be medium and strong. They'll have sort of more of a moderate weight for them. And their complexion might be like a little bit rosy on the cheeks. Their skin can go more towards the oily side of things. And their hair can also be fine, oily, or early graying. When we look at the typical Kapha, their personality traits is they're very supportive, they're very stable, calm, they're easygoing. But when they're under stress, sometimes it can be hard to tell because they can remain really steady or appear steady, but they often withdraw and they can become a lot more quieter, and they can become lethargic and lack a lot of inspiration because they've got too much of that earth element going on. Their appearance, their body structure, they have more of a round face. They have often big, beautiful, lush lips, those beautiful lips. They can have more of a pale complexion. Their hair, this is wrong. It's on the slide, it is wrong. I just picked up a typo. Their hair is usually thick and abundant and wavy. Their skin is also soft and moist. They have sort of a bigger bone frame, like a bigger skeletal frame. And they would have more of a square palm with short fingers, whereas the Vata would have more longer, lean fingers. So what does it mean to understand our dosha? It's not just a label, it's really a roadmap to understanding ourselves on a deeper level. Because when we look at our gifts and our strengths, as well as our vulnerabilities, it helps us on our dharmic path. So a Vata type, they can thrive in creativity and movement, but with that, they also need a lot of grounding. A Pitta type can excel in leadership, but will definitely benefit from adding more cooling elements and rest, or they can be driven into overwork and overachieving and competitiveness. Whereas a Kapha type, they're stable and nurturing, but they need some lightness and stimulation. Maybe they need more motivation. And if you know that about yourself, you can start to bring in these aspects into your daily routines, your nutrition, and your life. So really, when we understand our prakriti or our constitution, we can make choices that support balance and prevent disease by honoring our true nature. Okay. We do have, like, we just went through 6 quick questions just as an example before. But when we look at understanding our constitution, we have a full Ayurvedic constitution quiz in the portal that helps you determine your prakriti versus your vikriti. Now, your prakriti, it's your original state. So it's your unique blueprint, and it's set at conception. It's set due to your mother's diet, the season you're born in, your Jyotish constitution when you were born, so many different factors. And that is your natural state. And it's a balance of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And it stays consistent long term. And it really defines your strengths. And this can help you in life, in business, in anything when you understand this. Your Vikriti is your present state. So when we did the quiz, we were looking at our present state. I asked you to reflect on how you feel right now. It's your current imbalance, and it's shaped by lifestyle and environment, and it can change over time. It defines your current challenges. And so these are the ones that we often need to address because they're our challenges. So when we're looking at understanding our constitution, we want to understand the physical structure. So the body frame, the build, the skin, the hair, the eyes. That's why we were, asking those questions. The physical function, so how we digest, what our energy behaves like, our sleep, our resilience, and then personality traits, so our communication style, our decision making, creativity, empathy. They all come together to show us a picture of what our constitution is. So your first assessments are simple observations of yourself, of your clients. And with practice, you will learn to read the signs of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha in both the body and the mind. And you can just look at people and go, oh, they're very Vata today, or they're very Pitta, or they're very Kapha, or their general nature is Kapha or Pitta. And it becomes almost, when you're first learning, it's almost like a game. You go to an airport, it's so much fun because you're like, Vata, Pitta. You can really see it in people. So again, I was talking about the assessment chart, which we do have. Thanks, Susie. You need to go. No worries. We're nearly done, guys. We're getting there. We do have the assessment chart in the portal and also on the slide. So you can have a look that if you were going through this assessment chart, we've got the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, and it asks you to tick the most relevant one to you and then score it up. And this will help you understand your constitution. So common dosha personality traits, we have the positive traits of Vata. They're bubbly, they're creative, they can be chatty, lighthearted, they talk fast like myself. Invigorators, they're enthusiastic. And a Pitta is more that their qualities are focused, they're direct, they're logical, they're very good leaders. And a Kapha is more calm, relaxed, talks slowly, very supportive. Whereas the challenging traits that they all need to support through their lifestyle and diet is a Vata, they've got more tendency to anxiousness or nervousness, whereas a Pitta is more, has to deal more with maybe critical judgment or anger. And a Kapha is more lethargy, inertia, stubbornness. Okay, so what I might do is we've only got a few more slides left. Thank you so much. I know it's been big. It is time if anyone needs to leave, you're so welcome. I totally understand. It's been a huge class, but I'm going to just go through the last few slides. For anyone that wants to stay, I'm going to record them anyway if you don't want to stay, just so we have the recording done for this module. But the next one is really about integrating the elements and the senses. So each one of the senses are uniquely related to an element. When we can understand this, we also see how that we can make more balanced choices. So the element of earth is connected with our sense of smell. Water, taste. Fire, sight. Air, touch. Ether, hearing. And therefore, if we know that is the element associated with that sense, we also know that is the dosha associated with that sense, right? Oh, next one. So how do we honor our senses? Our smell, our taste, our sight, our touch, our hearing. How do we honor them? We can honor a smell by smelling in the beautiful fragrance when we're preparing our meal, which is going to actually set up our digestive power a lot easier. So when we engage the senses, we can actually honor different processes in the body. However, if there's really strong, for me, like if there's a really strong smelling toxic perfume, I get a headache straight away. So that's overuse of my senses. In Ayurveda, we teach the concept of pratyahara, which is drawing inwards, because our senses are so overstimulated in this modern world that can lead to dis-ease, because we know that dis-ease is a disruption of the elements and the doshas. Yeah. So we've got to think, is there any way that we ourselves or our clients may be abusing their senses? It's like a lot of DJs, if they don't wear the right ear protection, they can go deaf. Are we seeing lots of flashing lights and bright things? We know that people who have epilepsy, if they see that, it can create a seizure, because for them, it's an overuse of that sense. So how does the dosha become imbalanced? By overusing the senses and all of these things we've spoken about. Again, it comes back to forgetting that true nature. It's getting caught up in drama. It's disturbing our peace of mind, and the decisions that we're making have become impaired. We abuse the senses that we just spoke of, and therefore our doshas will become disturbed, and that results in suffering and disease. So the Ayurvedic path to wellness is really about learning how to use our senses properly, make healthy lifestyle decisions for the body and the mind, to slow the mind down with meditation and mindfulness, and engage in practices that expand our connection and awareness of the universe and our higher self. And this is where our dinacharya, our daily rituals and routines become really important. And we will definitely be diving into this in later modules. But really, they're a foundation of our Ayurvedic rituals. They create rhythm and grounding and steadiness. They nurture our doshas. They support the nervous system because it relaxes our nervous system, because when we have a dinacharya, a routine, there's predictability and routine, which shows our body and our mind that we're safe. And as a practitioner, as a consultant, your role is to help others find sustainable rhythms in their life. Again, it's not about perfection. It's about consistency and bringing some balance back into their lives. And so with a daily practice, we've got routines such as oil pulling, abhyanga meditation, nourishing diet, and so on. And so really, as students of Ayurveda, we need to be creating our own dinacharya, our own daily practice. And it doesn't have to be a list of everything, doing like an hour-long practice. It could simply be 10 minutes in the morning. But it's finding something that's going to honor and work for your individual constitution. So maybe it's abhyanga, some oil massage, neti potting, which is nasal cleansing for more clarity. Sometimes it could be breath work. I mean, eye washing, everyone can do that. That's so easy and should be done. Scraping the tongue, so tongue cleansing, removing the toxins. And then healthy eating guidelines, so mindful eating in alignment with your constitution. And we begin here with dinacharya, with ourselves and with our clients, because it connects us with the elements and our senses. It balances the doshas. It nurtures prana, tejas, and ojas, which are the subtle essence. It restores ease, vitality, and self-love. And it prepares us to lead and inspire through embodied wisdom. So really, Ayurveda, the journey begins with you and your dinacharya, your daily routine. Again, it's not about perfection. It's just about creating something that's going to honor your constitution and keep you in a balanced state so you can show up as your higher self. Again, these are all in the portal, these slides, so you can have a look through if you want to understand how to do the abhyanga. We are going to have an embodiment weekend where we actually do all these practices physically. So in person, if you're in Australia and want to come, if you're overseas, it'll all be recorded and filmed live for you guys. So this is neti potting, so cleansing of the nasal passages. Helps to reduce sinus congestion and headaches. It really helps improve clarity. It's a beautiful practice to do, a cleansing practice to do in the morning. Like I said, the eye wash is so easy, and we've got a beautiful recipe here to do it, just to you're awakening your senses. You're opening your eyes for the first time, and then you're going and cleansing. It's such a beautiful practice to do in the morning. Tongue scraping, again, an easy practice to clear the armor, to prepare your digestion and your organs and your taste senses. And then we have healthy eating guidelines. So this helps to support our Agni and our digestion, which is a core principle of Ayurveda. I think, Andrea, you said that at the start of the class, spoke about Agni and digestion, and it really is such an important practice. And so it's really eating a sattvic, clean, calm diet in a beautiful space. So not having stimulation going on, just really honoring it as a ritual. Your mealtime should be a ritual. Avoiding distractions, chewing your food properly, eating until you're like 75% full, not over full. Your largest meal should be in the middle of the day, and you want to wait at least 3 hours between meals. So you're giving your digestive system enough time to digest those meals, and you're not constantly spiking your blood sugar. And you rest briefly after eating, and after that brief rest, you can go for a 10-minute walk to help stabilize the blood sugar as well. It's a really wonderful practice to help with digestion. So again, bringing Ayurveda into your daily life embodiment, there's so many ways you can do it. And what I want you to do is to really think about 1 or 2 things that you can do in your daily routine. And I'd love for you to write them in the Facebook group. And Christina and Andrea, are you in the Facebook group on that? I'm not sure if you are. If not, can you make sure you go into the portal or the welcome email and just click on the link and go into our Facebook community, because we do a lot of communication in there as well. And so just wrapping it up, we have done an overview of Ayurveda and what's coming up in the next few modules. And at the heart of our program, what sets us apart is this higher self methodology, which is the cornerstone of what we teach in the Ayurveda Alchemist Academy. And it involves these 3 pillars to really step into your higher self for yourself, to honor yourself, but also as an Ayurvedic health consultant or an Ayurvedic practitioner. And the first one is health alchemy. So it's really understanding that your constitution and what it is and how to align it through lifestyle, nutrition, herbs, pranayama, any of the practices that we've discussed. It's using Ayurvedic practices to optimize physical and mental health and teach your clients to trust their body's intelligence, which leads to sustainable results. The second pillar is the empowered mind paradigm. And that is all about shifting limiting beliefs by rewiring the subconscious using Ayurvedic psychology. So this is cultivating mental clarity and emotional resilience through tools that we learn through Ayurveda, such as mantra, visualization. I mean, we did some of those today, breath work. And this can really help your clients break free from mental patterns that are keeping them stuck. We all know that we can't heal from a disempowered state. So this pillar is all about helping yourself and your clients have an empowered state of mind so they can heal and move through whatever journey they're on. And the third one is dharmic impact. And this specifically in the Ayurveda Alchemist is aligning your path, your dharmic path with yourself, with your purpose. Maybe that is through your business. It's about creating impact-driven change by living in alignment with your calling. It's by helping clients connect to their sense of self, leading to breakthroughs beyond physical health. And when these 3 pillars, they come together, they create a business and a life that feels aligned, expansive, and deeply fulfilling. Not just for you, but for everyone that you serve. And this is our higher self methodology for holistic success. And so we've finally come to the last slide, guys. Thank you for those who hung in here. We've gone a little bit over time today. I do apologize. I do thank you. It was a big lesson. I just want to let you know that the upcoming modules that we are going to be diving deep into is philosophy. And so we're going to be looking at the Sankhya philosophy that we briefly spoke about and the foundational principles that really underpin Ayurvedic science. So we only just briefly touched on it today. Then the module 3 is Ayurvedic anatomy and physiology number 1. So we'll be looking at Ayurvedic's view of the body, and we'll take a deep dive into the doshas, the dhatus, which are the tissues, and the sub-doshas of the 3 doshas, and a deeper dive into the 5 elements. Then we will move into Ayurvedic physiology number 2. So this is going deeper into digestion, to Agni, to the malas and the shrutas, which are the channels of the body, and the formation of the tissues and ojas. And then we'll move on to pathology and disease prevention. So when we know all that, we can start to study the disease process and the causes of imbalance and the 6 stages of disease through an Ayurvedic lens so that we can be really prescriptive with our work. So that's just the next few modules. Obviously, there's a whole lot more, but that's what our next focus is on. So I do thank you so much for being here. This recording should be up by tomorrow if you want to watch it, but the slides are already in there, so you can review all of the slides as well. If you have any questions, you're welcome to stay and ask them now, but we also provide the Facebook community, which is where you can ask any of your questions at any time, and either myself, Helena, or Jasmine will jump in and answer your questions, or other students who have knowledge in that area as well. So it's a really beautiful community. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for being here for our first lesson of this cohort. Does anyone have any questions before we go? No, just some hearts from Donna. Thank you. What time is it there, Christina?
What's that?
What time is it for you?
It's almost 7 on Monday. 7
Okay.
at night.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll let you get into your bedtime routine then.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I know it was a lot to start with.
It's okay.
It's all, yeah, it's such a big, we just wanted to give this big overview, and then we'll be really nailing down on all little aspects of Ayurveda. So you get such a clear understanding, and every lesson and module builds on the next.
Mhm.
So this one might feel like, whoa, to start with, but by the end of it, the jigsaw puzzle will be complete.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do have one question. When are we going to be, I guess, tested on the information?
So every module, so the content's drip fed, and every module has a quiz.
Mhm.
So this module does not, because this was just an introduction. So the first module is actually philosophy. And then once we go through the whole module, which may take a few sessions, we won't get it all done in one session like today. That's why we have a time slot that we'll stick to. And after that, once the module's complete, you can go and do your quiz, and then there's a little homework piece, and you just upload that into the portal, and the quiz is just automatic. It's really for your learning experience, so you can understand all of the concepts you've learned and applied them. So that's when the homework's just due before you start the next module. And like I said, modules can be over a 4-week period. They're different depending on how much content is in each module.
So there is like a homework 1 that was uploaded to my portal, at least. I think I saw that. So would the goal be to complete that before next week, since this module is already done?
No, the homework
Okay.
for this one is just to add in some dinacharya practices. So yeah.
Okay.
But the actual module starts with philosophy. Like, this is just the introduction, and then the philosophy, you wouldn't do that homework till we've finished all of the philosophy lectures.
I see. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
I think there is the form though. So if you can, that the project you're speaking of is the dosha quiz to do. So you can understand.
Yeah, it might be. I'm getting into my file to see what I am talking about. Lesson 1, homework 1, Ayurvedic lifestyle, routine and rituals, chapter review and study guide. That's like,
is this from Thinkific?
No, I believe that I accessed this through the Alchemist website. Okay.
Sign in to your portal. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Because I was only just asking because I think yesterday because we're changing portals, I think accidentally an email got sent out saying log into the old portal. I'm like, no, I hope no one got that. I'm not sure if they did or not. But everything's on Thinkific. So yes, that would just be these lifestyle practices that we spoke about, like how to, what are you going to do for your daily routine? And I mean, we've discussed this one-on-one, Christina, so this should be easy for you.
Yeah.
You'd be like,
I'm in the middle of all that.
Yeah. Well, this would be a good opportunity to reflect on that and to actually work out something that's really going to support your constitution and your needs now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, amazing. Cool. All right. Thank you, everybody. Make sure you jump into the Facebook groups as well, ladies.
Yep, I just sent my request, so.
Oh, perfect. I'll appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Harmony. Sorry. Bye. Harmony, I'd like to make an appointment to see you.
Yeah.